Hey guys, it's Kaz here, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in December, and then once I've got this out I can put out all of my like full year video stuff things. So let's just jump straight in. The first book I read was this one, which I need to just read the title of, Bunny vs Monkey, The Impossible Pig by Jamie Smart. This is a middle grade book. It's like a graphic novel-y type comic-y thing. It was fun. I borrowed it off an actual child, but it was fun for an actual adult as well. So with this one, it's like loads of little mini comics all the way through with kind of like an overarching theme, like some of the characters would turn up and then carry on being in the rest of it, but also it's very much like a cartoon, like on TV sort of cartoon where hijinks happen each episode and then it kind of goes back to normal the next episode. But yeah, it was really fun. I had a fun time. It made me laugh and I enjoyed it. After that I read Winterkeep by Kristen Cashore. So in December it was very much about me finally reading the rest of the books on my 2023 TBR, which I did manage to do. This was one of the 4 that was left. This is the 4th book in the Graceling series, the Graceling Realm I think the series is called. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I think I enjoyed Bitter Blue slightly more, but I really enjoyed this book as well. This is a great series. Can't really talk too much about this one because like I said, it's book 4. But this is in a world where certain people have these gracelings, and it's just like this sort of random magical thing. It can be very different. It can be being really good at being an assassin. It can be like really good at baking. There's just a very wide variety of things. But also there's a lot of political intrigue in this, especially as the series goes on. More so in like book 3 and 4. A lot of the stuff is like politically stuff. And yeah, I thought it was a really great book. I very much enjoyed it. Definitely looking forward to reading the last book in this series. I think it's the last book, book 5, Sea Sparrow. I don't own it yet, but I'm definitely going to read it this year because I'm very much a big fan. After that, I read Deadpool Volume 10. This is Evil Deadpool, and this is the last in this run of Deadpool that I own. It wasn't my best. It wasn't the worst. It was fine. It was fun. In this volume, there is Deadpool, and then because of some stuff that happened in some previous volumes, there's also an evil Deadpool that exists because of loads of bits of other Deadpool. And yeah, it's just basically them two fighting it out. It was fine. It's a graphic novel, so I will show you some of the artwork. Here we go. This is the sort of artwork that we have in here. And yes, I finally read this full run of Deadpool now, and it was alright, this one. I think I'm going to cull it down to just keeping my favourite ones of this series, but I'm glad I've read them all now. After that I read Aftermath by Kelly Armstrong. This was another one on my 2023 TBR. And this one I enjoyed. It was slightly different to what I expected it was going to be. So obviously that's my fault because I didn't read the back. But it's about a girl whose brother was the shooter, like in a high school shooting. He was one of the perpetrators, and like her best friend's brother was one of the victims, and I thought it was going to be like to do with that, more about the emotions, the trauma, like the how people dealing with stuff. But it's more so like a thrillery thing. So she's getting these notes through her locker, stuff keeps happening to her, somebody's like doing bad stuff to her, and there's a sort of a mystery element of this. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it, but I did want it to be the other thing. And I do think some of the things that happened in here was a little bit of a cop-out. Like, I wanted to see the emotion. I wanted to, you know, that to be the biggest thing. But it was more so this, like, who's the one that's leaving behind all this stuff and making her feel bad and stuff. I did enjoy it, though. I enjoyed their dynamic because it was like they hadn't seen each other for 2 years, and then, like, since they found out that this happened, and then it's a lot about them two like becoming friends again and discovering each other and like realizing that they don't hate each other because of what happened in the past and stuff like that. So I did enjoy it, but I was expecting it to be more harrowing, more raw, more like trauma and honest and like feelings and stuff. But it was more so like a YA thrillery mystery, but decent nonetheless. I was about to say all the less, that's not how that works. What wasn't decent nonetheless is The Night Screams by Devon McCormack. So this one I picked for the Buzzwordathon in December, which was, what was it? Something to do with sound, I think. And I picked The Night Screams because screams is a sound. Something like that. I can't actually remember off the top of my brain. But yeah, I picked this one for the Buzzwordathon, readathon. And again, talking about like the harrowing stuff that I wanted it to be harrowing, but then it wasn't harrowing. So this is like, on the back it says that the main character, pretty much straight away, first chapter, is running naked through a field after they've got loose from being kidnapped for however long, and there's all this trauma involved. And then the night screams because they're mute when they first get found and they can't talk and stuff. And I thought that was going to be really interesting. And you might have noticed on a few recent videos I've talked about like I want to read dark stuff again. I feel like I've been missing out on it, and it's something I really enjoy reading. And I wanted this to be like, make me cry. But it's so short, obviously. It's like 200 pages-ish, maybe a little bit more or less, around there. But so little time was actually spent on this. And it's more so like this potential like relationship. And the way it was done was just really not good. So this main character, no one's going to read this book. It's a random indie book that I bought many years ago. So I am going to spoil it, deal with it. So it's all about this character who was kidnapped and then was like tortured and raped, and like all this abuse and stuff happens to them. And then like the first time they meet the son of these people that have took them in, they're like, he's hot. And I'm like, bro, where's the trauma? Where's the like any of that? And like the whole book is just about them, like, this relationship blossoming potentially, and then yeah, it definitely is between them. But then like none of this stuff that happened to him is brought up, and I'm like, this just feels like your average contemporary now. Why do we have that at the beginning if you're not actually going to use that throughout the storyline? So it just felt like a missed opportunity to actually like talk about feelings, trauma, emotions, turmoil, all this stuff. But it was like, and then they kept just falling out over stupid things and being like talking to each other really horribly, and it never being dealt with and like apologizing properly, and none of this trauma that he has is talked about between. And oh my days, the craziest part, right, so this happens in a small town, and like they find out where he ran from in the forest. They go to this like farm or whatever, and they get there, and then like they kill the perpetrator, and then they find 7 other bodies on the farm. Like, oh my days, this man's a big old fat serial killer. And then it's like, oh, and he was dubbed in the papers, I can't remember the exact name, like the what's the word when you don't have any parents? Orphan. I think they were called like the Orphan 7, because he used to just take people that don't have anybody looking out for them. And then literally no character throughout this whole story mentions that. And like it's kept secret that he is the one that was freed from this. They say, oh yeah, that's one of our cousins that's come from out of town, because they don't want people like talking about it and stuff. I'm sorry, he's like with all of the guy's friends, like the other, I'm saying guy and man, I'm really terrible at names, so like Cal is the one that's running about, and Jake is like the love interest. So Cal is there with all of Jake's friends, and not once do any of them mention like, oh, isn't it crazy how there's like a literal serial killer around this small town, and oh, isn't it weird how this thing happened. And like the mother figure of this family is in like a church groups and stuff where they all sit around and have their little dinner and talk about stuff. Not once did anybody in that church meeting like talk about, oh my days, there was a big fat serial killer. Isn't that so weird? And I just expecting that to happen, and then being like, oh shush, because actually Cal is the guy that got arrested. Not once. I'm sorry. If somebody was murdered in my town, I would definitely be talking about it. If 7 more bodies were also found, I would definitely be talking about it, and so would every single person that I know and every single person that I don't know, because that's just normal to be like, wow, a literal serial killer in our midst. But then nobody ever mentioned it ever. It was just so weird. And then it had a really corny twist. Yes, I am spoiling the books. I did just tell you, I'm going to tell you everything. It had a really corny twist where Like, the guy that was killed was actually just one of 2 guys, and the guy that killed him was on the police force was actually the other one that had him in the kidnapped. And then there was like a really stupid corny ending. Oh my days, I totally forgot. You know where this corny ending happened? At this wedding that they were apparently going to have when they've been together for like 2 months and they're both still at school. Sorry? The guy, Jake, proposed to Cal and they've been together like 10 minutes and always splitting up and falling out, and they've known each other for like 3 seconds. What? And then at the wedding, or what was going to be the wedding, because it didn't actually happen, because then this other guy that was actually the murderer, rapist man, got Cal and was like, aha, now I'm going to take you back. And then like they end up killing him finally, and then they're like, oh, we won't have the wedding now, we'll have it later on, just a chill one, we'll elope. I'm like, what the shit? Why is there a wedding in this book about this teenager with trauma who's been kidnapped? So yeah, it was really fucking weird, and not in a good way, because I like weird. I don't know what was going on, but that's the book I read. And before I tell you about the rest of the books I read, let's head on over to a message from one of the spawns, and then I'll be back with the rest.
This time I've done my research though, so in go my double shark wieners, followed by an fin. Finally, while Phil's belly up, I'll add the 10 feet and start to add the up top texture. I'll get his dorsal fin in place and blend it into the body before adding lots of...
So, after that one, I read The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza by Sean David Hutchinson. This was number 3 or 4 off my 2023 TBR that I still had to read. You see, I was actually doing stuff. This one I had for many, many years, and finally was like, put it on the list, get it read, stop being an idiot. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's about Elena Mendoza, who was born from a virgin. Like, her mum was a virgin and had her, and that's not a spoiler, that's just like what she is. And then it's like there's some sort of scientific phenomenon that can actually happen, so it's like this weird thing happened, but they're also trying to place it in reality. But then she finds out that she can heal people, and also the apocalypse is going to happen and she has to heal people so the world doesn't end. And that's pretty much what's going on in here. It's very much about her trying to come to terms with what the shit's going on, and about different characters and how they're feeling and stuff. It's very much character driven, even though that is like a big plot. It's very much like small, built down into the characters, her family, her friends, the people around her. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Glad I finally actually got it read. Because all of Sean David Hutchinson's books I've enjoyed, so I don't know why it was just sat there. But yes, very much enjoyed. After that, to the shock and surprise of nobody, I read Heartstopper Volume 5 like everybody else in the bookish community, because it came out in December. Yeah, I read this and it was good, and you know exactly what it is. It's Nick and Charlie, them existing. It's a slice of life comic that's been going on for many, many years and everybody loves, and there's a TV show of it now, which is also really good. And I had a lot of fun with it. It's a super quick read. This is Volume 5. I'll try and just like grab a page here. I'm sure you know what the art looks like. It's very, very popular in booktube and just in the world in general. This one deals a lot with the relationship stuff and uni stuff and having people to talk to and try and figure stuff out. And yeah, it was a fun time, as all of these comics always are. You know, you've probably read it, or at least heard of it. After that, I read Ghost Roast by Shawnell and Shawnee Gibbs and Emily Cannon. This one was an arc, so most of it is in black and white because it is when you get comic arts, but there's a beginning bit is in colour, so it looks like this. This is the artwork in here. It's really fun and bold. And yeah, this is about a girl whose dad is a ghost hunter, and it's like everybody makes fun of her. She tries to not let people know that she's related to this man, but then when she has to go and work with him because she gets told off for going out with her friends at a time she shouldn't have been going out with, she realizes she can actually see the ghosts. He has to use all the fancy equipment, but she's like, they're the ghost. And then it's just all about that, but it's also about like the history of this place that they're going to. And yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. And then last but not least, the last book I read in 2023 was also the last book on my 2023 TBR, so boom. And that was Hannibal Rising by Thomas Harris. So I'd heard mixed things about this book. Basically, this is Hannibal Lecter's origin stories, and a lot of people very much didn't want that told because he's like this apparition, this creature of a man that people don't want to like humanize and know in the backstory. They just want to see him like the big bad. But then also there was a whole thing that the author was kind of forced into writing this book. Whether he wanted to tell the backstory or not is like up for debate, because basically the people that did all the films were like, either you write a backstory or we're just gonna make one up ourselves, so sucks for you. So yeah, I went in with it with like low expectations, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a slow start, mainly because it was starting with World War II and I just don't find that interesting to read most of the time. But as it went on and like skipped a few years and he was like a teenager, I thought it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. So yes, I am one of the people that enjoyed this book. I know a lot of people didn't, but I'm glad I gave it a go and did read it because I thought it was really good. There was some backstory that maybe you would know a little bit about if you've read the other books, but then obviously it goes into it more. And yeah, I really like the Hannibal series. When I first started reading the first book, I wasn't sure if I'd like it, but it's actually written really easily digestible, and no pun intended. Don't be scranning it, people. But yeah, the chapters are really short and it's like really quick to read, but really good and engaging. And yeah, finally read the last one. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. I'm one of the people that enjoyed it, so bonus. So there we go. Those are all the books that I read in December. And now I can wrap up the year in some more videos. So subscribe for that if you want. If you like end of year stuff, beginning of the year stuff, there's a lot coming. Oh yeah, let me know down below if you've read any of these or what was your last read in December. That would be interesting. Did you specifically pick it out or did it just happen to be your last read? Let me know. Do all the things if you want. Subscribe if you want. Like if you want. Comment if you want. Only if you want though. And yeah, I will be back in a few days with another video. Bye.